Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Math with Marcus. Thanks for joining. This problem is a really good one. So this is a part-of-part relationships problem that gives you some distance. So Jill lives 3.5 miles from school, and one morning her friend was giving her a ride, and they were 2/3 of the way to school. Their car broke down, and they had to walk the rest of the way. Oh no! Whatever are they going to do? I guess walk. They have 2 feet. So it says, draw a picture to help you figure out how far they walked. So they drove 2/3 of the way they drove. So that means they walked 1/3 of the way. They walked 1/3 of 3.5 miles. Right, 1/3 of 3.5 miles. So that's what we're figuring out. What is 1/3 of 3.5 miles? Because that's what they walked. So let's start with a diagram. One you could do is you could represent each of these as, let's do a number line, and let's show that they walked 3.5 miles. So let's do, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go past 3 miles. I'm going to draw 4 miles here. So here's 0 miles. Here's 4 miles. And then I'm gonna go ahead and say, well, this would be 2. 1 would be here. And this would be 3. And then 3.5 would be right here. So this is 3.5. 3.5 miles. All right. Now, if this mile is broken up into half miles, let's break everything up into half miles as well. So our number line is broken up into equivalent parts. So here is the total distance to school. They eventually got there, right? I know you guys were worried. Did Jill make it? They did. They ended up making it there. All right. And I need to find 1/3 of it. Now, unfortunately, this isn't broken up into 3 equal parts, so I'm looking for 1/3 of this yellow portion here, and I'm saying, how many parts is it broken up into? And we're saying, okay, well, if we can't break this up into, if this isn't broken up into 3 parts, it's not broken up into 6. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we did break it up into thirds, if we broke everything up into 3 pieces here, if we broke everything up into thirds, so it's 3 pieces here, 3 pieces here, 3 parts here. If we broke everything up into 3 parts, we now have 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So we have 21 parts. So if we have 1/3 of everything, well, what is it if we had 21 parts? So 1/3 of everything is equivalent to how many 21sts? 1/3 is how many 21sts? So that's one way to do it and one way to take a look at it. And so let's take a look at that.
Please excuse this interruption.
All right, so if we take a look at that, 1/3 is equivalent to 7 21st. So 7 21st. So 1/3 of 3.5 miles is the same as 7 21sts of 3.5 miles. So this is one way to do it. I'm going to show you another way in a second. So here is, let's just get 7. Let's get out of here. Don't know why that happens. There we go. So let's get the green out, and let's shade 7 of these parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a mile. 7. So here is the part that they walked. They had to walk 1 mile and 1/7. 1 and 1/6. So they had to walk 1 full mile. So they had to walk 1 full mile. And then how much of a second mile? How much of mile 2 did they walk? All kinds of interruptions this time. So they walked 1 mile and 1/6 of a mile. So what is this? How far did they walk? They walked 1 1/6 miles. 1 1/6 miles. Now, other than a number line, one way you could have done this was to do it with a, so we're looking for what's 1/3 of 3.5. And instead of doing it with a number line, you could have done it with an area model, so with rectangles or circles. So here's a mile, here's a mile, here's a mile, and then here is half of a mile. So she's going to need to go this full distance here. So going to need to go 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, and then half of a mile. I'm going to do this in a different color, and you'll see why in a second. And half a mile. And if I want to take 1/3, and what's 1/3 of everything here? What's 1/3 of everything? Well, if you take a look, so this is 1/3 of 3 and 1/2. So 1/3 of 3 miles. So if you take these 3 miles and you just take these, and look at, there's 3 nice pieces that this means that they walked 1/3 and took the car for 2/3. So 1/3 they walked, 2/3 they used the car. So that's 1 mile here. And then you need to also take 1/3 of this, so 1/3 of everything. So if you take this and cut this in 2/3, all right, so this is the walk part and this is the car. And they don't need to go this far because this is just 3.5 miles. So the question is what part of a mile is this? What part of a mile is this? And this is 1/6 of a mile. So they walked 1 mile and 1/6 of a mile. So this part they walked, let's do it in green. They walked this part 1/3 of the miles, and they walked 1/3 of the half mile. All right, so 1 mile and 1/6.